It's 3 o'clock, and we're on the air. Well, it's 2:59, but I think that clock is wrong. So we're on the air, so we can get started. I'd like to call the meeting of the Library Board of Trustees, City of Palm Springs Public Library to order. And can we have roll call, please, Jeannie?
Sure. Pardon me. Harry Courtwright.
Present.
David Kelly.
Present.
Ed McBride.
Present.
And Kathy Warmick is not here yet.
Posting of the agenda.
The agenda was posted on or before May 23rd.
Thank you. We have 2 sets of minutes, is that correct? So we have a set of minutes from the 18th of April and the 29th, so if we could maybe take them in order. Does anyone have, can I get a motion to accept the 18th? Second or discussion, any corrections? Can somebody have a second? Somebody sneezed that one.
Do you want to wait? Ed, for...
Yeah, let's wait.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi there.
how's it going?
Back from your travels.
Yeah, I'm getting to the same thing.
So we're on the air.
Oh, we are.
Yes, ma'am. We're about to accept the first set of meetings from April 18th, but we stopped in case you might have some comments.
Fine.
Are you good? All right. We have a second to accept from
Yes.
Mr. Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
The set of minutes from the 29th. Can I have a motion to accept?
I'll move acceptance.
And a-
Second.
Okay, any discussion or comments about those minutes from anyone?
I'm just abstaining because I wasn't there.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so can accept those, all in favor?
All right.
Thank you.
So 301.
Yep.
That's how you record that one. Because he abstained. Lisa's like, "Hmm."
Do we have any added starters today?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we need to talk about the Frey.
Your microphone's off.
Oops. Thank you. I think we need to talk about the Dr. Frey building. And I believe somebody's coming from engineering to discuss that with us in terms of
He's here.
steps. So can we add that to the agenda as well?
It's up to you guys. You want...
No, you're here to speak on
I
the,
can speak to that if you. like to
on
speak.
the Dr. Frey building?
Yeah,
Okay.
I am.
Okay. Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, I just wanted to agendize because we may need to put in a subcommittee to review the engineering or the architectural applicants and,
Gotcha. We'll add that to under legislative action. Any other starters? Okay, so now's the time for public comments. Do we have any public comments? We're moving along. Treasurer's report.
Oh, hello. Just wanted to let you know that since I've been traveling and I couldn't get a date that would actually work to sit with City Hall to talk about a couple of pending issues, including the rate of interest that's being earned on our endowment, that hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to do that, and I'll report back to you then. But for the meantime, if you look at the enclosed accounting, realistically, on page, it's the second page at the bottom of it, the total library endowment is still at $2,060,823.90. And I don't, unless there's something coming up, I don't think that that's going to change remarkably in the next couple of months.
have we spent any of the money we approved previously?
I don't believe so at this time. We are always purchasing the books, and so maybe some of the book money. In fact, in that column, when you're looking at it, and I'm not sure if that was for funds that were approved last year or this year, but in just the last month, we spent $330 in the trust fund book account. So,
Do we carry, I'm assuming we carry over the money we approved from last year so you can continue to use that?
yes, that's the way the trust fund works, so that
Good.
you don't lose the money, and if it ever, what they actually do is they take all these funds, they put it all into the future library projects account, roll that over, and then redistribute the money back into the accounts that we keep open, so.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
And that's how we would want to do it. We would want to
Hold
roll
on.
over the book money especially, and projects that aren't finished, we want to roll that
Well, remember
forward.
last year, though, we made the change that if there's a project when we start the new fiscal year, it can be taken off the list and the money that is put back into the kitty, remember?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't think that there's anything on that list like that. 'Cause remember, we were carrying things like the sign, for example.
Oh, no, when the project's complete, we were waiting for it to be completed.
Correct.
And when that
Correct.
project's complete, if we don't need that account number anymore, like the LED sign.
Right.
We would roll that money, the leftover funds back into the future library projects account and then close that account number, so that you wouldn't see it and you wouldn't have to look at it and go, why is that money still there?
Okay.
Why is that money still there?
Like the strategic plan, for example, that's the consultants, right? So
Right.
we pretty much have down to $3,000 left for that project. Is that way how I'm reading it?
We have $22,375 left in the encumbrances outstanding column.
Right.
So that's the money that has
They
been set
haven't
aside.
billed us yet?
Right.
Okay.
So that's the money we expect to spend because their quote came in less than 40. So the 3,000, when it's all said and done, the 3,000 plus anything that wasn't spent will all get back into
Right.
your,
Thank you.
your main account.
Okay.
So good questions.
Got to keep our eye on it.
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a representative from the Friends?
No. Julie, do you have anything that we want to talk about from the Friends point of view? I can think of? That you can think of? Trying to think. We're getting ready for summer reading, but I can give that report when we
Okay.
get there.
All right.
Let me think. I was just gonna. Yeah, they do have a book sale coming up, but I can mention it now, I guess. July 13th on a Saturday from 10 to 4. They'll have their big summer sale.
After Friday, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it for them.
So from the Library Foundation, we had a meeting actually last week. On the heels and kind of sandwiched in between the acceptance of the strategic plan and just literally before the Measure J meeting, the foundation discussion that day really centered around just getting a little more organized around our financials. We had a discussion at the end of that meeting about our financials. As a matter of fact, I was just over at the accountant with David. We're making sure we have the proper people to sign checks and that sort of thing. So that was part of our discussion. They are looking, the foundation is looking to find a house to be added to modernism, and so there was some discussion about that. They're having some challenges finding a house for the October preview, so it may end up being that they have a house at the full modernism week, but that's a fundraiser that they're trying to organize. And basically just waiting for the charge to come down on what's next with any capital campaigns, so.
Why don't they ask Jane, they should ask Jane Garrison.
Anything you can help with, that'd be great,
I can ask her if she would do it if you give me a date.
okay? I think the deadline's quickly approaching next week for submissions to the committee, that's
It's the
the,
William, I think she has the William Holden House in
okay.
Deepwell. It's huge, it holds a lot of people, it's exquisite.
We've used that one before. It's a really nice house. So
Can I make a connection between you and the
Yes.
committee? Do you
Yeah.
mind?
Yep.
So you've used it before and it was successful?
It was a nice one. The Friends of the Library did use that house before, and it was a lovely house.
Yeah, the Friends also have their houses as well, but this is one addition. We did invite Julie, which you're always welcome, to share on the awareness program, but we decided to wait till our next meeting before we get into that. We're dusting off literally the agreement that we have with Buzz Factory to start getting ready for our own awareness, and we just want to be on the same page with you so that we're not duplicating anything out there.
Doug
so.
Doug Hudson's house as well.
Okay.
If
He was
you-
there, he didn't volunteer.
He never does, but maybe a little pushing.
Good to know. I'll share this with David Sidley and the committee that's working on this and
Okay.
maybe copy you if you don't mind.
Sure.
Thank you. That's great. Other than that, the foundation, like I said, is poised and ready for the next steps based on the charge that will come down next on the building, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But any questions from me on the foundation? We are still recruiting members, looking for board members. So if you know anyone that might be interested, send them either my way or to David Sidley. And we're inviting people to attend our regular scheduled meeting to see if they like the group or want to participate. And if they've got energy and they want to volunteer, pretty much we're finding a place for them because of just trying to get organized around that group. So it's a good group already, but we are looking for additional people to help. So any questions for me on the foundation? All right. We agreed to move some things around because of our guests so that they can speak. So which would you like, you want to come join us at the table? And you can introduce yourself and then you can tell us which one you want to speak to first.
And Joelle, are you here? You're a witness.
You can join us too if you would
Please
like.
join us.
Please come up to the table. We'd love to have you.
You gotta bring a chair with you. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Don Ueno. I'm with the city's engineering department. I'm a senior civil here. I've been here for about a year. I've been in this business for about 19 years. So, and basically, I guess I'll start with the Wellwood patio update.
Wonderful.
Can you introduce Joelle too?
Oh, yeah.
Or let him introduce himself?
My name is Joel Montalvo. I'm the Assistant Director of Engineering. Been here with the city about 8 months now, and we're all trying to get up to speed to try to help without all these projects that you guys have going on.
Welcome.
So just a quick update on the Wellwood patio. As you know, the city council agreed to extend the design contract, and so the design company, David Vo's Design, is currently preparing the plans, the revised plans based off the input of the last meeting, and we expect in July to get those plans. So for the next month, we'll be waiting for that. So that's kind of where the status is right now. So, and then following that, there's the meetings and approval by this body and the Historic Preservation Board, as well as the Right.
Question on that, because when I
Sure.
talked with Flynn, he said that it didn't have to go back to the board.
Okay.
That it only had to go to Ken Lyon for sign-off, since it's gone through
Oh,
and
yeah,
there
you're
were
right.
approvals.
It
And
just has to
so,
go back to Ken Lyon.
and so I don't think we want to go through
No.
extra steps.
No.
And Ken's very familiar with all of the issues.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Save yourself some grief.
Yes. So that's the update on Wellwood. The other one was the Fry building. So what I had some discussions with Marcus yesterday regarding that. And then I also watched your past meetings. So I understand there's the bigger strategic plan, which includes, whether we do the initial, whether it's an architect or a company to advise us through selection of the architect, for, whether we do it through a competition or are we doing it, just some kind of feasibility study. I think we will work with the building committee once that's established. In my head, I thought that building committee would also advise us on the Fry building, but what Marcus said was that what you guys want for the Fry building is kind of install bathrooms again, move the archive material as well as the machines into the area. And so it was more a matter, something that one of our on-call architects could handle.
Yeah,
It's a
I
shorter
agree.
process, it's a cheaper, we can
Yeah.
get proposals really quick. But what I do need to work with you guys on is how are we going to use the space? Is it one big multi-purpose space, one area for archives? What are the needs for the archives? Is there like temperature control?
Okay.
you know, all that kind of little details. So if it's we need to develop a scope so that these architects can give us their price and how long it would take. And so,
Okay, we can
want-
work on that for
yeah,
sure.
Meeting rooms
okay.
in both, and I think it also involves, am I correct, making sure that the space that the archives are moved out of work adequately for meeting spaces.
Yeah, so
So-
we could schedule a meeting and you all could come over and we could take a look at the two different areas, like the current location of the archive. We want to turn that into some meeting spaces, and
Right.
is it going to work? And is it going to have a room capacity of 2 or 20? You know, we want to
Right.
make sure we're not wasting our time.
Exactly.
Just like what you're saying, Kathy.
The more time that's spent developing the scope and defining exactly what's needed for the space,
Yeah.
the less time and the less cost for the architect, because the architect will give you a price to give you for the scope you provide them, and if the scope creeps or we start changing things during the process,
Right.
the price gets a lot more expensive. We'll have to ask for more money. So the more you develop that scope up front, prior to us going and getting those proposals from the architect, it'd go a long way.
Okay.
I mean, I think, my opinion is that because we do have Measure J funds that have been approved to go towards this project, you just made me think, if the well runs dry, I'm sure the next stop is going to be here from the trust fund. So I would hope that we would have the building committee along with staff work on this project. Is that what we've been thinking we would do? So,
It's possible. I would, for me, in my opinion, I thought just the scope of work for the Fry building maybe staff could handle that.
Well, we've
It's
got
possible, but-
Harry and me from building committee, so
And
I think
You're
that
certainly
might,
welcome to help us, and
I'd be glad to.
I think it'll be fine. I don't know that we
I've
necessarily
done
have
a
to
lot of
develop.
buildings for libraries.
I don't know if we necessarily have to bring in a 10-person committee to
no,
work on.
no, no, no,
No.
no.
let's
But
make it
just our-
swift.
I think
our-
just
Just
two
our
of them.
small group.
Just
two of them.
small,
Yeah.
but, it
Because
may
we all
not-
know it needs a new air conditioner. We all know it
Yeah.
needs some restrooms. And so there's some basics that we can all easily
and
pound out.
it needs to look good.
Yeah.
Well, my concern is that we thought we put enough money into each pot of that money that was left, but if there isn't any money, I think that they're gonna look for us. And I think having two trustees involved from the very beginning, we're educated, we're on it. If these guys come back to us and say, hey, guys, we need to pony up some money for, I think, let's let you guys be, if you guys agree, I mean, what do you think?
And he's done libraries, so I think
Done a lot.
a lot of libraries.
I've done a
lot of
couple.
remodeling.
And she has too. so-
I've done a couple.
We're actually working with that plan that was already approved by us before.
Yeah.
Have you seen that plan already?
Which one?
Oh, this is for the Fry building, so it's just the annex building next door to the library.
No, I think.
Right, no,
Is that what you're
but
talking
we
about?
actually looked at a plan, and I thought we approved one at a prior
No.
meeting.
We approved the money for Measure J to be reallocated to go towards the cost of it. And
But
you're right,
wait.
there was a,
A
someone
schematic,
did a
wasn't there?
little
The
draft.
drawing, that was actually the original
Oh.
floor plan of
I remember
Oh,
that
okay.
too. Yeah, I remember it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I
It
don't
says like
think we,
bridge or card room or something
yeah, I don't
like
think
that.
we actually looked at a floor plan, but we
No.
want to make sure that the floor plan works for what you want, and the Friends also want to be able to do their book sales out of there.
Yeah,
So,
Great.
So they probably should be at the table?
that's fine, yes.
One of them?
Yes, absolutely.
Because aren't
Do
they
you-
talking about a store there, or a possible
Yeah.
bookstore?
They
Is that
are.
what they
Sure.
wanted?
Yes,
So
the
yeah, they
Friends,
should be
you
at
mean.
the table too.
Yes.
Because that'd be another pot of
Yes.
money, should we need some more money.
Like the Friends money.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So.
and doing that quickly for me works. I can make time in the next couple weeks, 2 weeks.
Yeah, the purpose that we did, I know you probably saw that meeting, but
Yeah.
we really want to see some action on our strategic plan so that the people in the community who said, we want this, we
Yeah.
can go back and say, we did it as fast as we could.
Yep.
So, yeah, thank you.
I like it.
I do too.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay. I'm gonna talk about
Oh,
Metro J next.
let's talk about the consultant, because I think that's in setting up the building committee and the RFP that
Yeah.
you need to do.
So that kind of ties into A and a little bit on C. So let's talk about, let's just talk about A. So the strategic plan, as you all know, was presented. I would, for those of you who weren't there, It was such support for what we've done, and we got a lot of thanks to the community who participated in this, and everyone felt it is time to make the library a priority. Now, I'm paraphrasing because I think that sounds better, but I don't think anyone on city council would disagree with that. So it's time to pay attention to the library. I do know, and I'd like for you to report on the part that you guys have already started on, so because you have started the implementation on some of it. But then on the next day, the Measure J Joint Committee with City Council actually presented their priority for this year's budget for Measure J. We were number 3 to the tune of $1.3 million. There was quite a bit of discussion about 9 things, but when it came to the library, the discussion was, yeah, it's just time. So everyone felt like this was a great start to give us for the things we're going to need to get this project started. And as a result, the question did come up both at the strategic meeting presentation and Measure J on the floor. What are next steps around the building committee? So I know that Lisa and Christy have already signed up as a city council representation. We recommended that 1 to 2 trustees serve on that building committee, and then city council has asked for profiles of people that should be on that committee. And, so I personally recommended that we look at, and I can't remember if you guys were there, but we used kind of a profile when we had our planning group that designed the first group, where we got in the room and said, these people need to be in the room with us in January. And then we went through and profiled all those people from the community, and I suggested we start there because there was such great energy there, and there might be some people that would be great assets to the building committee. That's all I know. Now, you may know more about the building
I would just add
committee.
the couple of people who were invited at the last minute as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Some of the community, some
Yeah.
of the,
We added those to the list, so.
Yeah.
We still have our spreadsheet that we could go back to and develop that, and I'm open. I think it'd be great.
Unless you may know, that's the last conversation I've had with anybody. I know that they want to start looking at naming that committee and getting organized, and it sounds like you've heard that too. So it starts the process. So, I don't know, have you heard anything?
No, it's us. We need to set it. We need to do it. But 2 city councils, 2 board, 2 friends, 2 foundation, that's 8, plus staff. How big do we want to make this commit? Maybe we need to set a boundary on the number.
there may be people in the community that are more important than anyone else, so I think we do need to look who can sway, who just really matter.
And I'm sorry,
Sure.
I mean, I had those profile, maybe we should start with that profile
have-
list. Like,
we have-
we need
we
someone
have
with the
that at-
preservation committee, or preservation community, I should say. I don't know about 2 foundation,
No.
maybe 1. I don't think you need to put
Okay.
more foundation people on it.
Okay.
Let's let them raise the money when it's.
Preservation said they didn't want to be on it at this point in time, that this was early.
Should we ask again, just to be safe?
No, actually, I think when we get to the consultant, I think the consultant should be divided up a little, and that we should figure out a way to get Leo Marmol as one of the people who does a review. He's probably the best preservation architect around, and he's done significant things and working on significant things in Palm Springs. So and he's interested. But I think we have to have somebody who's good at looking at least at what the issues are. Or we won't convince anybody of anything.
So
but-
where do we start?
I think that in some ways, here's an idea, our committee can grow as we need it for certain tasks, and so we need a core, when it
Core
gets
group.
unwieldy, it's hard to go on a tour, schedule a meeting, oh my goodness, trying to schedule meetings. So I think that we can have subcommittee type things, and I think that would work really well, because we're gonna need, I think, engineering, somebody to be a part of this too, to say, you can't do this. You're like, done, done will be on our committee. But
When they did
I don't
the-
know, I understand exactly what you're saying, that we do need to include the community, of course we do. But we need to figure out how. How are we gonna manage this group?
Well, some of it
You
may
have
be
six or
going around to the community, but some are there may be some key people who can convince the community that one option is better than another, and their being on the building committee will matter.
I think a core group, I don't think you want it to get too big.
Yeah.
Because we can throw all kind of subcommittees together and pull all kind of people in.
And we can
sort
do
of that.
community input forums and.
Absolutely,
and things like
but I
that.
think that core group it's critical. They're the people who are going to have to influence and make decisions.
Hi.
Hey.
Couple things. One, my recollection about the building committee as far as what it was defined to be in the strategic plan really didn't say too much about the goals of the building committee, I don't think, in terms of trying to figure out how to put these people. And then also, the other thing that I was recalling too was that when we asked the consultants whether or not we wanted to have foundation people on this building committee, they did not recommend putting
Yeah, I don't.
financial people on that building committee.
I think the one thing is to talk to them also about what's worked in other cities in terms of who we need to have.
I think what would be useful too, because if I was approached to be on this building committee, I'd probably want to know what the goals of the building committee were and what was the charge of the building committee by the Board of Trustees. I mean, what is it that the building committee is supposed to present ultimately to the public? And what authority do they have? So that when people are kind of scrutinizing who should be on this committee, they'll know the power of this committee.
So goal 1, 2, and 3 of the strategic plan, they're not specific, I agree, but they're very general on what this committee should do and look and how it should be organized. So I think we start there because that's what the city council really liked about this. They wanted it to reflect these charges. So for example, I think that we start here with,
Yeah, I think that's a great starting point. But
So it
I
does say
think one of the problems in trying to
foundation,
figure out who should be on
does
this
say
building
that on
committee
there.
at this point is that because that document is so broad, it seems as if we'll try to be all-inclusive. And if we decide right from the get-go that the building committee has a more defined mandate, then it might be easier to pick people for it.
Who's actually going to appoint the committee and give it a charge?
so the very first thing we agreed is the city, in conjunction with the trustees, will establish a definition of the roles and responsibilities and recruit and appoint a building committee comprised of individuals who will define and coordinate the building project. The building committee will include at least one representative from the trustees, the foundation, and the Friends.
So the committee will be appointed by council.
I think they want to,
They want
Prove it.
input.
It just
yeah.
says the
They
city.
want
I think,
input, but
Yes.
it'll be a
It'll-
committee appointed by council.
no, it doesn't say that. It just says the city. And
That's what
I-
you just read.
the city.
the city.
No, when I read
could
it,
be the
it's
city.
I think it's veto of anybody by Lisa and Christie. That would be my read.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
if
to appoint a city
was that document distributed to all of us?
Yeah, this is the strategic plan. This was the plan.
This is what,
Has it been, is that the one that's been revised since the
Yes,
meeting with
yeah.
the, I haven't received it.
This was the one that we handed out as part of the last minutes and went to your report to the city council.
I've got all the pieces of paper that came to me in the mail, and that's not in
you
it.
also sent it to all of us before city council.
Yeah.
Oh, but that wouldn't be a revised version, though.
It was the
It was.
revised version that was sent before city council.
Yeah.
Okay, but the one that one wouldn't have included language about city council's participation in the building committee, would it? Because I
No,
think
what-
that was actually
what-
discussed at that meeting.
That was what was discussed at the meeting where,
So I don't have a revised version.
That was, it wasn't part of, there was, the one that went to city council is the final version. And that one does not say city council.
It just says city.
It just says the city.
and what occurred
So the
at
one you're
council.
reading now, Ed, says city in it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one I don't have.
And those were the revisions that occurred after the meeting with Lisa Christie and David.
Right, which I understand, but I don't have it.
I think I sent this to you guys after the city council to approve, right? Because this is your report. Did you, or did you share this with us? I can't remember.
I'm
'Cause
sure
I got it
that
from you.
I've emailed that to you all.
Okay, well, let's just make sure that David got his copy of it, so.
Okay, because,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
It's, I think the revised strategic plan came to you in the staff report that was sent out on 5/20. Do you want me to resend it to you?
Sure, if you have it handy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But this is the report that went to city council.
Oh, my goodness. It wasn't sent to him. Oh, yes, it was. Yeah.
So,
So I would like to just,
Tell me if you got it.
I want you to, I'd like to just have us just appoint the committee or make recommendations, but I don't want to step on anyone's toes. I mean, we can handle it. We can develop the group and, we could work with you all. We just need to take the next step and get the group going and start working on this.
I would feel more comfortable myself, and the rest of you can definitely weigh in on this one, is that we put together a list of who we think should be on it, and you get the two city council representatives to also participate in that, because they
Okay.
want to.
Sure.
And just make sure that we're all on the same page there. We know they want to be on it, but I think they also, they may have people that they have in mind as well.
Yes.
Okay. That sounds like a good plan. Do you want to email that to me,
Email.
your list, like each one of you? Is that what you're thinking?
I'll be happy to share the profiles that I put together, and if you guys want to look at that and then edit and change and play with it, and we send it on to you as what we think as a group should be the profiles of the people on it. I would say also, if you have specific people you think fit those profiles, why not? I mean, we could always put that on there as well.
I just want us to keep moving forward. I don't want us
That-
to spend 2 months
That was the message we
developing
got from them as well.
a building committee when we could be doing things.
I mean, Christie said point
As a
blank,
building
a good
committee.
plan will, has to have implementation and quickly. So I think that they're expecting something from us pretty quickly.
So do you want?
I'll send that out as soon as I get back to my
Okay,
computer.
So.
Okay, well,
Today.
yeah, I'm sorry, and stand corrected. I see that I was copied on it, but somehow I missed it.
It's okay. So you're.
There shouldn't be any surprises there, because it was all part of our discussion that we had the last time, so. The only thing that if you, and I'm sorry if you weren't here, when city council met with us, were you here for that meeting?
No.
Okay, so at that meeting, they asked us to make some edits to formulate the first part of the plan.
Oh,
to
that I'm
be-
all familiar with, because thank you.
Okay.
Those minutes were fabulous.
Yeah, so that was the last, that would be the last, that version should reflect those requests.
Okay.
That's what it would be, yeah.
Great, thank
If you have
you.
any questions, let me know. We can go to the phone or have
Yeah.
coffee or something, but,
Absolutely.
yeah, and they accepted that, so.
Okay, so you're going to send them the profiles.
I'll
and
copy
then-
you.
Okay, I'm just making a list of what we need to do so that we can get this done.
And the profiles, by the way, is my recollection of when we got in the room and said, these are people that need to be with us to help us identify community people for that day-long meeting. That group came together, then we did a whole different profile of who should be at that day-long meeting. So I've tried to comprise all that into one list, if that makes sense. So when you see it, it'll have things like a well-known local foundation board member, and it has a preservationist in it. So I mean, it was a profile that we used that day, if you guys remember, when we did that whole list of people that we just identified
But
to
you don't want the
advise.
size of this committee to get out
No.
of control. Shouldn't be
No.
more than 10 or 12.
That's what I'm thinking too.
I agree.
'Cause
And
it's
if you
hard
set
to
it up, you
schedule.
want set meeting dates so
Yep.
that you don't have to
Yep.
negotiate.
Always meet this
Yeah,
day at this
never-
time.
Never.
Because you can always add, like you said earlier.
Subcommittees.
Subcommittees.
Yeah.
Right, and people can always decline because they can't meet that day, but you don't want somebody who has to spend 10 hours getting a meeting together.
And these meetings will be announced in the regular course of business and open to the public.
I Well, it'll have to be, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
It's an ad hoc,
Well, if it's an ad
actually.
hoc, it does not.
It does not
sure?
have to be.
Yes.
Right. It's ad hoc, so it does not have to be calendared and agendized and open to the public.
Is that something we intend to do?
I think it should be ad hoc.
I do too.
I just think we have to prepare for plenty of time for it to be open to the public
Yeah.
at some point.
Right, but you want
I
to
think
get,
that will come later when,
Oh, yeah,
When
it's
you
gonna
have
come later.
something.
yeah.
It can
And this
come
is
later
just
when
the
you have
research
something
group.
and some major
To have
things
the
have
public
been
react to
done
and
ad
make
hoc.
suggestions about.
I'm sorry?
Some major things in the city have been done ad hoc, like changing the plan development district. The recommendations as to what that was, which was a major development tool, that was done by a special committee.
Mhm.
And then there were public hearings on it.
I see.
And I think that this is like a research group. This isn't a build it and design it group. This is, the first step is to do the research and come up with things. Is this on motion?
However, this
We all sat
this
still.
committee will make a recommendation of the option, so I mean,
Sure.
I think that's gonna be a really big decision / discussion, so this committee will make a recommendation over those
And
lists.
and before they do that, they're gonna take whatever it is they come up with research and go out to the community and say, here's how the three things rank.
Yeah,
What do you think? You know,
There
And then
were-
take all that in, and then the committee makes a decision what they're gonna recommend to council.
There were some things we were going to do preparatory, which is to go through all of the materials, and we were going to do that over the last month, all of the materials that we have from all of the various
Options.
plans and options, so that we could figure out what's presentable to a committee of what previously had been done.
yeah.
So I think that's still a task we have.
Right, yes, I know it is, and the stuff's in my office, some of it. But I know we want to get this committee going
Yes.
as soon as possible,
And organized.
yes.
Okay.
So, and then, so you're gonna send that out, everybody's gonna brainstorm back. We're gonna send our list to Lisa and Christie to review and provide input, and then we can discuss it at the next meeting? Is that what you're hoping? Is that what we
Or
think?
maybe do we need anything sooner, or will it take the whole month?
It'll take that long, I think,
Okay.
just with their schedule, don't you think?
Yeah, I would also send it to David, just as a courtesy.
Oh, I always copy him on everything.
Right.
And
Let's
copy
see.
him.
At that point, yeah,
If he done.
next month.
So you hear we're working on it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And my suggestion is, usually with these building committees, you kind of want some technical people in that
Yes.
group, just because we're trying to make sure we are moving along and people don't get hung up in the details, right? We're kind of looking for the big picture people that can, and then you also need very good people that can explain technical things to everybody. So those are just two things to consider. People who speak well.
I think Don should be on the committee.
Oh, he's already been voluntold, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you just volunteered.
Well, I
You know,
always had
maybe
the.
our facilities person could come in as an expert witness and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
I always had the
Point to
assumption, and
things.
it maybe is a
Yeah.
safe one, is that this, you would be an or you're.
Yeah, it's
we would
like
have
a
advisors at
non-voting.
any time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
like a non-voting advisory.
John, what's
staff
your
person.
last name?
Ueno, Uyeno.
Yeah, I think that that's critical.
Thank you.
Mhm.
We don't want to go down a rabbit hole without someone saying, whoa, don't go there. Yeah,
yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll share that with you guys this afternoon and edit away, just, tear it up, and you too, because you have a greater list from that meeting than I may have.
Someone
So-
should ask our consultants also what's worked in terms of who's been on these committees. You've done enough of this, but who should, from the community, who should be on it?
Yeah. 10 to 12.
10 to
Yeah.
12?
Don't get any bigger.
Well, no,
10 to 12,
and by the
but-
way, the profiles are meant for us to just kind of think, oh my gosh, that'd be someone we really would love to have on
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
not to indicate that everybody I'm sending you as a profile should be there. It's just to kind of get us thinking about what would make a great profile of this committee. That's all.
And as we stand with you all, the building committee is Harry and Kathy, and is that how you want that to stay?
It may
For-
not be.
For
May not
this,
be, it's whatever the mix is.
okay.
Yeah, we should,
And, you may want, you two may serve double duty as a foundation member and the friend, and the trustees, so
Could be.
that would be
I mean-
just
You can get somebody
one more
else.
person. Yeah,
And it may be that we have a slot that represents community fundraising, that represents the Friends of the Foundation as well. I mean, it could be one person that represents that aspect of it. I don't think, I mean, when we wrote this, remember, we were trying to be all-inclusive, but I don't necessarily think we'd have to stack it up with valuable seats with
No.
people that may not be critical at this particular time.
And who are
The time will
already
come for
working.
to raise money, and that's going to be
you
thrown to
do
both
have
those
to
groups.
have a Friends member, though.
I think we have to have somebody
you
who's
can
going to
double
represent.
duty Friends
Yes.
members. I mean, we have, I know at least one Friends member who's an architect, and that could be helpful.
Sure, yeah.
So.
So they
Not
need a
take up
seat.
valuable seats.
No, they
That's a
need a seat
valuable
at this
seat.
table.
That's a
They're-
valuable seat, and someone who's an architect
Mm-hmm.
can
It's a real
also,
asset.
is a
Sure.
real
Right.
asset, and a passionate library
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
architect is even
Yeah.
more of an asset.
Yep.
So I think thinking about that in terms of the populations of those groups, in terms of skills people have had.
I agree with you. Okay.
And let's talk a little bit about the RFP before I don't think we're ready to do that yet, but one of the questions, and the reason I mentioned Leo Marmol, for people who don't know, he's done a lot of the major historic renovations in town, is that people in the preservation community would trust him in terms of him coming in and saying, this kind of stuff would work and this wouldn't work. And I think we also have to figure out what's possible to get done with the library current building if we don't stay there. So that's, but I wouldn't think I'd want him to be the only person, or someone like him to be the only person.
We do.
Oh, I wanted to just mention with the Measure J, money that was allocated, the 1.3 million, the question came up, why that number? And it was just the balance that was left over.
To the penny.
So they
It's
just-
because they started with 5 million and gave some of it away when they thought we didn't need it this year.
That's right.
So that's why it's such an odd number. It's just that they gave the rest, they put it in the library kitty, the starting
They expect us
fund.
to be back for more.
Sure, yeah.
And so next year we go back for 5 million.
And that does not include our
15.
600,000 that we've reallocated. That was
Right,
already approved.
yeah.
So That's good. So
So I
I think
wanted
we
to
have enough
mention
money
that.
to get started, I hope.
And for strategic plan implementation, we kind of went straight from that to so I just wanted to mention that the library staff, we had a meeting, 10 library employees met with the consultant, Tony, came out and worked with us on our portion of the implementation plan, and we made task lists of how we're going to do what's in the strategic plan. And then we started out, we brainstormed the timeline for it. And then she's taking all of that back, and we broke into groups, so each one had their own timeline. So she's gonna compile all that together and overlay all these timelines, and then staff, we're gonna look at it and say, we need to stretch this timeline, we need to make this the priority out of all of these things. And so that's where we're at right now. We brainstormed our portion. I know that they want to work with you all to brainstorm the other section, to do an implementation plan for that, right? Is that what
And
you-
I
did
think
you know
that would be real.
What other section are you talking about?
The building plan, the building part, we need
Yeah.
to do an implementation plan for that section of the strategic plan.
That's the committee, right?
Well, it's us first and then the committee. I actually had hoped they'd be here today, or talking with us today.
That is out of their scope at this particular point, right?
Right, they're-
We would need to find out how much they would charge to continue that consultation, am I correct?
For that, I think their trips are done
Right.
they're now will be working with us via email for our portion, but then I thought that's what she said, that she would reach out to you, Ed, to talk about the trustees portion.
I would think that would be really helpful.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm confused. Are you talking about the trustees portion of the services implementation or the building implementation?
The building implementation.
Okay.
Maybe I'm just wrong.
Well, let's find out what they were
Yeah.
speaking to. and
Yeah, because
you
she
need a
only worked with
proposal
us
from
on
them
ours.
How much it would cost to do that portion.
But we have allocated money for that this year, and also this money in the
I
300,000.
think that the way we handled it on our portion was, as an example, goal 1, and then strategies 1, 2, 3. So we had it plotted out, goal 1, create an infrastructure to prepare for building a new library. And then you have to write down how we're going to do this, and maybe we all need to work on this some more, but like we set a timeline, like we're gonna do strategy number 1 in the first quarter of the next fiscal year, and then strategy 5 is gonna be in the second quarter, so that you lay it all out so that you have deadlines. That's, I think, that's our part of the implementation plan, is that we need to set some deadlines on these so that we just don't wander aimlessly and it never gets done, because if I work on deadlines, so it works very well to have a
I can
deadline.
reach out to Sue and ask her for, now that the plan has been accepted, now that we're at this stage, what are their recommendations for our portion of the implementation? And have her come back with some sort of a outline of what she thinks, along with what she thinks it will cost, and share that with the trustees. And then we
Okay.
can put it on the agenda for next time and discuss and decide that's the route we want to go. I know they have the expertise, so we might as well ask them for. to
They were
help
very
us.
helpful with us when we were
Good.
making our list, and they're like, but did you think of this, and
Okay.
how are you
What
gonna do
if
that?
we do something different? What if we allocate some money to it so we can get started, so they could meet with us at our next meeting? So we know there's some dollars available of the money that we've done, even, something just to get them started and then figure it out later, but not wait, because as a board member, it feels aimless to me to meet and then meet again and meet again to figure out what you're going to do, as opposed to work on it.
So see if they can come to the next meeting and talk to us about it.
See if they can come to the next meeting, and why don't we allocate what's reasonable, up to $10,000 for them to do that and work with us? Would that be
Let me
enough?
ask real quick. I can email her today as well.
Okay. And we can approve it so that we can move forward.
Are you making that motion to approve?
I'm making that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Question for that, though?
Oh, sure, go for it.
David, your microphone's not on.
Oh, sorry. So, I understand how it would be useful to have them, face to face, to actually give some direction in terms of setting the schedule for the strategic plan. And I'm just trying to understand, is that what your goal is in having them come out here to do that?
Yeah, so that we have a sense of what we're doing. Oh, sorry.
I
I want to have a sense of what we're doing and their best advice as to how to do it, since they've done this successfully in many cities. And maybe other people are more expert at doing this, but for me, that would be very helpful to have them work with us on this, so that when we're asking people to be on the building committee, we've got something to give them too.
Yeah. If they had actually asked us to do that, and to set up a date to do that, I think I'd be more comfortable in approving that money. I'm still curious as to what could be accomplished by that that's different than a conference call. Because $10,000 is a lot to use at this point in a very early stage of our planning, I think.
We'd still have to pay them for a conference call. I just want to have money available so that if Ed asks them to do something, we know that I'm not saying we're paying them $10,000 for it. I'm saying work with them to figure out what's the best way to do
And in
this.
fact, they may want to do a conference call.
Right, but figure out
We
what,
still have to have money to pay it.
we
They
have
are
to have
gonna do
money
it
to
for
pay
free.
them.
Right, no, I understand that, but I also understand that they're not located locally. So it does cost something to get them here.
I know this group well enough that I think if I went to them and said that we're very serious about having you do the next phase of this, what does that look like? Can you present to us? I don't think they would charge us to do that. I really don't. So I think that if we could somehow have that meeting with them quickly, I believe they're ready to tell us what they would do along with how much it would cost us, and we could make that decision.
Because I understand that we've already approved a budget for them. So I suppose by approving this $10,000, this is an extra allocation to, and that all other funds that were allocated for their work have been totally expended at this
Except
point.
$3,000.
Except the $3,000, which you were talking about
Yes,
earlier in the
and-
meeting.
And they, yes, and their estimate for their travel and all of the package was what they quoted, so the 37,000.
So I'm just wondering, would it be wiser to now that we've come to this point where we've gotten the approval, to actually think about something that's a little bit more longer term in terms of financing them at this point than just simply, the next meeting? I mean, should we be allocating money for them for the next 6 months, I think?
My answer would be yes, but I just didn't want us not to have money if they wanted money to be paid, and then that would keep us stopped.
Another month.
Another month. That was my only goal with this, is not to spend the money, but to have at least enough there. And I do think you're asking them if they need, what their role could be over the next 6 months, helping us develop this would be
With the
good.
budget.
Because I'm kind of surprised that they haven't come up with a budget, considering that we've gotten,
Probably have one.
we're pretty pregnant along this way, right?
Yeah,
So,
they
I mean, I
probably
think
have
at
one.
some point, they probably have
They have an
passed
idea.
along to you.
They
some
haven't, but I'm
idea.
sure they have an idea.
So is that something we can discuss now about what that idea is?
I can ask them. I mean, I don't know what they would do. They do this all the time, so they may be ready to present to us here, if you guys would let us continue to participate, here's what it would look like and here's how much it would cost. I can ask them that ASAP.
So I'd still leave the motion on the table. I'd like you to ask, to us, look at that, but to leave a little money in the budget that we don't spend if we don't have to, but it's there in case we need it
Sure.
to move quickly forward.
Point of clarification to Jeannie, though. Should we decide to extend their contract, I'm assuming there's a city process that we would have to go and extend their contract, correct?
It's a pretty simple one, though.
Okay, good.
It's a nice one. We
Good to
just have
hear.
to do a change order to their original contract and, with your approval, allocate the extra funds. And that's pretty much it on change orders.
Here's what I would say. With the fact that we still have $3,000 allocated to that current contract that we could spend,
You can spend any of your money.
if we wanted an in-person meeting with them, that probably would cover their cost to come out to our next meeting or to a special meeting. I mean, that's what I'm thinking, is they need the money to cover their cost.
Their
But-
travel.
Their travel, not that to be the full amount, but I mean, and then get them to do a proposal for us quickly so we know how much it would be, so that we could vote to go with them. Is that maybe meet both of your needs?
Well, actually, what I'm really trying to do at this point, because it's now, I'm really so happy that Measure J money has been actually reallocated to do the strategic plan. So I think probably we should actually have a document that says how we're going to spend it.
Right.
And I think part of that should be whatever this extension of the contract should be. So I think there's a couple of things that Jeannie, I think you're right, that we need to go to City Hall and get the contract extended. And then at the same time, we should actually have from them a kind of a budget, now that they know that we're really serious here, to go with that. And I don't think outside of the $3,000 that's already there, that, I don't know, maybe it is, that there's something beyond whatever it is that's necessary to get them on the phone. I think organizations like that typically would create an invoice at some point. I think we've got the resources to pay an invoice. I'm just kind of like trying to avoid just doing these piecemeal approvals of parts of what I think is probably going to be a larger budget number.
I could make a suggestion. I think that if it's Tony coming, she's coming from Phoenix, and the last time she came, she drove. And so I don't know how, if she did mileage or what, but our typical travel expenses were about 3,200. Is that, anybody seen the invoices? So when all three came, it was 5,300 or so. When they all traveled, all the three consultants, airfare, hotels, food, all the things, and then their per diem. So it's possible that you could still get this done, have Tony come for one day for a trip within that $3,000, I think.
I just
But I
don't know if
understand what
Tony
you're
would
saying,
be
you want to
the-
have a cushion.
I don't think Tony's the person.
I don't know if Tony would be the consultant they might pick for this next phase.
Oh,
They may have
oh.
somebody else in mind who has more
Then it might
expertise on
be
what we
Sue.
need. It could be Sue, it could be Peter, it could be anybody they have in their stable
Mm-hmm.
of consultants. Let me reach out to her ASAP and have a conversation with her about this and share with you all what she comes back to say. Is that fair? Because we can move quickly on that.
Can we move quickly on it if we don't take a motion to cover the expenses, if that's what you determine is appropriate?
Do we need a motion to spend that $3,000 if I need to spend it, or we need to tell them to come out for an in-person?
So you've already approved the 40,000, so I think you're still within the bounds
Okay, and then
to
next
do
time you
that.
bring a budget,
And then we vote on the whole thing.
and then we look at the whole thing next time. So if you can do it, I'm fine with that. I just didn't want to leave you
I think
with
we'll be okay.
no funds.
Especially if they think we're going for a bigger contract, I think they would make that work. The other thing too is that through email, hopefully we can look at their proposal and then have it on the agenda for our next meeting and be ready to say this is what we would want
Yeah.
and tweak it by that time with their input. Okay.
So you have a motion on the table,
If I
though.
read the emails.
I'll call everybody.
Okay.
So you have a motion on the table in a second, so you need to deal with that.
I think that,
Withdraw.
I'm going to remove my motion.
I'll
Are you
remove
ready?
my second.
yes,
Okay.
thank you. All right. We're getting so excited about this, it's going to happen,
We're
right?
getting lots of action.
We're getting ready. Where's the shovels? We're ready to start. Okay, so we,
Sledgehammer.
yeah, really. Library budget update and discussion, is there
I think,
anything?
is Dawn, we're finished, with talking
Yeah,
about
let poor
Dawn's
Don
issues?
go home.
Did you want to talk about the RFP, because you raised that earlier?
That would be, was that for a
It's for the
renovation or-
overall consultant who's going to do a lot of the public work and work with the,
Well, in my head, I thought this building committee was kind of gonna.
I think, that, yeah, the building committee will have to develop the scope of
scope,
work,
Right.
and then
For the
we'll-
And then we do the
before it
RFP,
can go out.
because
Yeah.
I'm not sure, like, what I saw in the last meeting, it could be where we pre-qualify architects, and then we select 4 and give them some kiddie money to present a proposal, or it could be, are we just doing that small apple that David Reddy was talking about, that small bite of the apple where we kind of get an architect on board to guide us into that bigger process? I kind of wanted direction from you all, and maybe in my head, I thought that was what the committee was going to do, but I mean, we could do it any way that you guys come up with.
So I
I'm
guess-
happy to.
Point of
help,
clarification on what you just said then.
Yeah.
So you're saying that one option would be for the committee to do a very high-level evaluation of the options before us to try to make that decision, or get into a more detailed evaluation of those options? Is that what you're saying could happen?
I think what Don's saying is that, at this point, it's too early.
Yeah.
But we had the alternative where we could have a competition of architects, or we could hire a architectural consultant to guide us through a design program like we did before with Group 4.
and
like we used
that's more
before.
of what I was thinking, is a consultant or consultants to guide us through the decision
And
not,
maybe we do both.
not the choice. Yeah, because
Yeah, that's what
later,
I'm thinking.
it's the program, there's two pieces, guiding us through the program that's most appropriate for a library of this century and one that'll last for at least 40 years. So what is that program that we need? And then also somebody to look at the various options and help us with what else could be done with the what could be done to save this building and build an annex probably, or what can be done with the building if we're not, because I think we all realized from the last meeting with City Council that somewhere into the process, there has to be a decision made. If we're not going to keep this library, what happens to the building? Because it was, even though it's not yet on the historic preservation list, it was Cody's last commercial design.
So under the strategic plan charge of what we do have, if I can read, the city and the building committee will draft a guiding principles, in quotes, document. And this, by the way, came from the consultants. So this is where we could lean on the consultants to help us with that process. Document that will inform the site selection and frame key elements of the new building, which is what Kathy just said. Number two is the city and the building committee will conduct appropriate research on each of the three building options that will inform the city's site selection decision. That's the first decision before we start designing a building is, where is it going to go and what's it going to look, that's the first thing. So I guess that's why I was asking for a point of clarification. This sounds like that doesn't necessarily have to be an architectural firm competition. That's really maybe an architect looking at these options and saying, under my expertise, I'm estimating this many million for each of these options. Is that what we're maybe talking about?
Yes.
Yes.
And it's also, but first, figuring out what you need for the program of the building, what it's going to do.
Yeah.
So that the options are not just weighed against cost, but they're weighed against program.
I mean, the last building that I was involved in building at Maricopa County, we hired an architect and his firm, met with the committee. We did all kinds of spatial things. How much do we need for this and how do they relate to each other and all of that? Came up with an actual iffy plan for what the building might look like.
Yep.
And that's what we got my board to approve. And then we went out and hired an architect who actually designed the building
Yeah.
based on those concepts. What is interesting is the building that ended up being built was almost identical to what that committee had come up with that other architect.
Very good.
Now, I have to tell you, the other architect, the first architect was really kind of bad because he did the initial work. The county policy was he couldn't bid on being the architect for the building.
Whoa.
Which was kind of sad because we were hopeful he would, but he didn't. He
But,
couldn't.
Well, and number three is the kicker, guys. Number three is where the building committee will recommend the best option to the city and the trustees and provide the rationale for its choice. That's why I think that's going to be the big one right there, where everybody's going to weigh in on why it's
Right.
the best choice.
but I think, I don't know if, the consultants we have now can help us through.
No, I think
No.
for the larger project,
They can't.
we're going out to get the highest quality people
Right.
around. It's a project of that nature where it's not an on-call kind of project. But we would, there's also in the construction field, a lot of construction management companies that do these public-private partnerships where,
Right.
and so, if we need to hire that type of firm that can, they've done parks and libraries and, all kinds of municipal buildings that throughout, we can go with also that route. But I need to kind of get an idea of the direction you guys are
Yeah,
going to
and-
develop that scope of work.
That's the guiding principles
Right.
document.
Yeah, and so I took my cue from your strategic plan when I was reading it.
Thank you.
And that's what I was trying to,
Yeah, and
hone
I
in
think
on,
that's,
so-
that's more working with the consultants
Yep.
to figure out exactly who we need when, and then working with you to find them.
It was my understanding this guiding principles document helps inform the building committee, because remember, there may be people in that committee who don't understand the current modern function of the library. So it's going to really say, this library of the future should include the following things, and gather the information we've already got, really, and add to that.
It's not,
Right, and so all those things we've talked about would be in that document to help inform what you just said. Does that make sense?
does the city ever do design build? Where they actually hire a construction company and they bring in an architect that the city approves
It's probably,
and builds it within a specific budget?
I'm not too familiar with this city, but I do know of cities out there. I mean, that's,
We
What-
we did that at Maricopa
yeah,
County. and
there's a lot
couple
of,
other-
that was the buzzword, the P3, right?
Yep.
Private partnership. And so there's a lot of models out there. I do know of several companies that help municipal agencies with that process. So, if this is,
I just was wondering.
yeah, I'm not aware of projects though that
The city-
that City of Palm Springs has done.
So I will work on this with the consultants immediately, along with the profile, so you guys will hear from me. If not, I promise if it's not today, I'll be first thing in the morning. I'll get this out to you guys, but we'll go ahead and start working on this part of it and get it kicked off.
Great.
I'll include you, of course, in
Yes,
everything.
yes, thank you. Yeah, I think we have work to do before we can
Yeah.
do the RFP.
Yeah.
and
oh, no,
all
I
the
know we
things,
do.
but-
It's just, you had raised the questions, and I wanted at least us to begin to discuss what's possible.
So thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Run away.
Look forward to working with you.
We'll see you
On
next time,
on
I'm
all
sure.
3 projects.
Are you done with library budget?
I wanted to let you know that the city council will be having their, hopefully, final budget discussion and vote on June 5th. Is that the next?
So far, it sounds so good, though, right? I mean.
So far, so good, yes. Things are moving along, my budget so far, my halftime passport person is still in the budget, and that's terrific for us, we hope, and that's gonna be a great start. We obviously still have to apply with the State Department, but since we were a passport agency before, we were the very first public library to be a passport agency in the United States. I'm optimistic that we will get approval again and training, and it wouldn't just be one person doing passports, it would be several of us trained, and that would just help us with staffing. And so I will be at the city council meeting for the whole meeting for the budget portion, and you're welcome to attend. So that
What
was,
day is that, I'm sorry?
I think it's June 5th.
Yeah.
My brain says June 4th, but that's a
you
Tuesday,
let us
so that
know,
doesn't.
please?
Yes.
You know,
but
one thing
I'm pretty sure
that-
it's June 5th.
People wait in line for are all the special permits going with travel where you can get into the fast track lines, you're pre-approved for fast
for
track to
passports, uh-huh.
Mexico.
Uh-huh.
Those
Oh.
kinds of things. If you had that here and you wanted to do it, that would just fly through. People would come from all over to
You're
do
right.
it.
Yes, global entry
The Global
program.
entry, and then, I'm not sure what the name of the Mexico one is, but doing
I'm
those
sure
here would be.
There's GOES, Global Entry, there's one other one.
I believe there is, I've learned, there's maybe a place in Palm Desert that does that, I'm not sure. Okay, but, as we go, one at a time. One new service at a time. Plus all the strategic plan things that we want to do. So, yeah, the budget's going along, and that's where we're at right now.
Is that all? Okay, so the last thing on our legislative action really is for us to start thinking about, if you guys recall, we assumed the strategic plan would be approved, we'd be organized on our way, and we would have yet another joint organization meeting between the trustees, friends, and foundation. Based on our conversation today, I think we've got some work to do, and then we're going to be dark for the month of August. This might be a September thing. We might be a little further along.
Maybe
And
you
everybody would
should.
be ready to have that conversation. Don't you guys agree?
would
I don't
look
think
at
it's anything we need to do right now. But maybe the September meeting would include a joint organization meeting to look at where we are with the strategic plan, the building process, and you'll have your budget by then.
I think that's a great idea.
So.
And the new services. that
Yeah,
they're
so
implementing.
let's kind of pencil that in for the September meeting to be maybe a part joint meeting with everybody.
And maybe we'll be pretty far along on Wellwood and the Fry
Agreed.
Building.
And it's not that far away, but it's still, I think it gives us a little more time to get some stuff done.
Almost tomorrow.
Right,
In our world.
I
No,
know.
I think that's a great idea.
okay. Report from staff representative.
Okay, so we are having a great time at the library. We're getting ready for summer reading. You think this is a slow season? It is not. It's summer reading. Summer reading begins June 10th and it goes through July 18th. It's a 6-week program. It's open to all ages, children, teens, and adults. For the children and teens, this is our 3rd year. I cannot believe it's the 3rd year we've done this. We are giving away free books, brand new, paperbacks, grade level appropriate for children, just for coming into the library. Each week, 6 weeks, they can earn 6 free books. And then we have a 5-book challenge, and if they read 5 books, which I'll tell you the methodology behind the 5-book challenge, but 5-book challenge, if they read 5 books, we'll give them a bonus book for free. So the state library helped us develop the 5-book challenge. They do it all across the state of California. And there's a catchphrase called the summer slide. And when children leave school for the summer, if they don't read books over the summer, or read anything, if they don't read over the summer, they lose their reading achievement, and that's called the summer slide. And so it has been determined that by just reading 5 books during the summer, you prevent summer slide, and you keep your reading achievement so that when you get back in school, you haven't slid backwards in your reading achievement. And so we're all about helping with children and everybody literacy. So we have a 5-book challenge. Adults have a similar program. Every week that you check in, you're going to get a book voucher for a free book out of the Friends book sale. Maximum value, $2. And then if you read 5 books, you get a 5-book challenge book voucher. So we also get an entry ticket to win one of our grand prizes. The Friends of the Library sponsors our summer reading program. We do spend some of our city budget money for summer reading, and we did get a grant from U.S. Bank for $5,000 to help supplement our summer reading program. We have a grant application in with another foundation. We're going to hear the results next week. Keep your fingers crossed, because that grant in the past 2 years has paid for the books. And so we're optimistic that thank you, that we will get that. We also got a grant from the Sustainability Commission to help us buy bicycles. And Julie, how many bikes did you get to buy?
About 4.
4 bicycles, and
Helmets.
with helmets, and they will have locks, and they'll be on display around the fish pond during summer reading. We have programs every week. We're doing the Grease Sing-Along in partnership with the Camelot, the Palm Springs Cultural Center. So July 12th, Friday night, get your 50s garb and come support the library and the Cultural Center in this little mini fundraiser. It's going to be so much fun. And there'll be swag, pom-poms and things, combs. There's a little bit of
Race flags.
racing flags, a little Grease swag to go with the movie. We're looking forward to that. I encourage you to pick up our summer reading brochure. It's on our website as well, if you want to refer to that. We've got Manny the Movie Guy coming to talk about behind the scenes, and Bella DeBall is going to do our adult trivia game, and we've got some great lectures, Cutting the Cord, all kinds of fun stuff for summer reading. And our teen librarian just retired today, and so we have a new teen librarian. His name is Sean Corbin, and he's worked for us for about 7 months now already, but he comes to us from Palm Desert Library, where he did teen services and has years of experience doing that. So we're very excited to have a nice transition with a new employee doing our teen program for the summer. We just did our 5th annual Comic-Con, 5th annual, I couldn't remember, Palm Springs Public Library Comic-Con, and we had about 800 people show up, and it was a lot of fun. We made about 700 buttons and had all kinds of crafts and games and activities for all ages. It was so much fun. And on Monday, I am speaking at the Mizell Senior Center, their Widows or Widowers Club. And I'll be talking to them about what we have going on at the library, which I just remembered we got some new services. Did I tell you about that last month? We have Canopy streaming service, and we have Acorn TV streaming service. And we've added some new databases. We've added Value Line Investment Survey, and we're adding Demographics Now. Coming soon. Brain Pop for children. I'm trying to think of what else. Any other ideas of what databases we're adding? No, Demographics Now, yes. So Demographics Now, and now we've lost our mind. I'm trying to think of what they are. There's a genealogy one that we're not coming, but Canopy is already very popular. So it's streaming films, 30,000 films available for streaming. You get 10 streaming credits a month as a library user, and then Acorn TV has it's a 7-day pass that you access through your library card. And then we also have the New York Times online. Did I tell you that last time? Wonderful service from the California State Library. We're very grateful to them sponsoring that for us. So, summer reading. I don't know yet. We're still working on getting statistics for New York Times. It's brand new to us, so that's something we are going to get statistics for. And then Canopy has had quite a bit of use, right, Lisa? Do you know the numbers off the top of your heads? But Lisa monitors the streaming service because we have a budget and we have to watch the numbers and make sure we don't go over our budget.
How did Neighborhood USA go?
Oh, thank you. I forgot about that. We participated in Neighborhoods USA annual conference, which was in Palm Springs. Lisa and I gave a presentation about our career online high school program, which I think was a great presentation, if we do say so ourselves. We brought in the vice president of Gale, who is the company that runs the high school diploma program. By the way, we've had our first graduate. And we do still have 6 openings for students if anyone's looking to get their high school diploma. And then I gave a presentation with Eric Cheel on our local history, researching your neighborhood's history, and I talked about accessing the past and how you can, all the free resources that are available online for people to do research. And that was a wonderful presentation as well. And then we had our booth. It was a really good conference. I really enjoyed it, being there, meeting all the people, and then having our booth and telling about libraries in general, and then participating in the workshops and the seminars.
I was impressed with the number of people who were actually affiliated with libraries who were there.
It's nice. We're all about neighborhoods, I guess.
Yeah, did it turn out to be that you guys were like, communicating the fact that we're looking for changes in our library and whether or not, a little networking about who's doing what and anywhere else in the country about libraries?
I met with a lot of people. We met a lot of people and talked about their communities and their libraries, and it was just good, interesting to see. Yeah, nothing formal, but a lot of people came to us and said, "Oh, our library does that," or in my Accessing the Past presentation, somebody said, "I went to my library and they didn't know, they couldn't help me, or they didn't know about this." And I said, "Well, I'm just learning about it too, so maybe they just didn't know where to go for these resources." But I gave them some pointers and a handout, and I'm like, "Go back to your library." I don't know. We're all.
Do people go to our library for tours? I know I must have told a half a dozen people where the library was. I don't know.
I don't know. I kept telling people, "We've got a koi pond. We've got a koi pond," and they talked about Wellwood a lot. I know people said, "Oh, that library downtown," and so they knew about that just from being a visitor. Yeah. So I think it was great for us to be there. It was good exposure. And there were a lot of neighborhood, local people there too. So thank you for bringing that up. I'd forgotten.
And thank you for your help with the.
Yes.
Oh, it was fun.
Fun.
Yeah.
Love the
We got a lot
jockeys.
of interest from our drag queen story hour shirts. We wore them on Friday, and it was fun.
Another question, are you done with your report?
Yes.
Okay, because all those Birmingham
A lot
people,
of Birmingham, from my hometown, I met all
three
my
three
cousins.
planes.
Really?
That's what they told me, 3 planes.
Wow.
No, I just wanted to find out what's going on in terms of, I think I mentioned this about 2 meetings ago, about whether or not the list of people who came to that initial meeting from the community, whether or not there were any further collaborations. I know you're probably starting to work on the plans for the fall schedule, so I don't know if some of those people have been contacted to say, let's start collaborating on some things.
Well, in our implementation plan for the strategic plan, one of the charges that we're working on is working with the school district early childhood education, and that's one of the things that we're working on a timeline and trying to figure out what makes sense. It makes sense to work on that now, so I think that's going to be our priority, to try to work on that now. And our teen librarian, the brand new one, he's doing outreach. He went did outreach today, outreach tomorrow, outreach next week, right before they get out of school, to say, come see us. So we've been doing a lot of informal things too, and as reminding me about NUSA being there. We saw the Transgender Coalition there, and we said, hey, we still need to get together. And so we're
LGBT.
Yes.
Teen program.
Yes, and we talked to the center about the LGBT outreach and partnerships, and with its new teen librarian, there's some new energy. We'll just say new energy, and quite a few. I'm counting at least 5 out of 18. And yes, I think 5 out of 18.
Do you do outreach for the summer reading program with the schools?
Yes, we do. We do a flyer with the school. It goes out to every student in the entire school district of Palm Springs, and it's Spanish and English. It's bilingual. Everything they send, we're required to send everything in bilingual to them. So, yes.
Vista Del Monte tomorrow.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're doing outreach at Vista Del Monte tomorrow. They're having their end of the year celebration, and our children's librarian, who is a Spanish speaker, is going to that. And that school has a huge population of Spanish speaking students, and so she's going to go and do the outreach with them. And so yes, we do that.
Great.
So-
Actually, what I thought you were asking, just as a follow-up, we have
Microphone.
we have emailed that original group from that day long to share with them and
Oh,
give them a
yes, thank you.
status that where we are. So we did follow up with everyone who was there. Did you get a copy of that email?
Did it include the strategic plan?
Yeah, Julie sent it, right?
Yeah, that was Julie. Did you send a copy of the plan with that, or was it just a thank you and we've got
Yes,
one?
I
We've
did
got a
attach
plan.
a copy of the plan.
Yeah.
Yay.
And I got some people that emailed me and said, remember, I'm here to help if you need anything else. So,
And I was at the School District Foundation
yeah.
soiree last
And?
night,
And?
and there were several people saying, how's it going?
Yeah.
What's going on? And we're like, yeah, we're working on
I've
it,
had
we're
some
working on
people
it. So,
ask. Yeah.
they're.
Has it reached the level of press yet? Has anyone talked about it in the press?
No.
Well, I just, the Desert Sun editor was there last night too, and I talked to her, and she was participating, she participated in the retreat, so,
Yeah.
so she's on it, and, actually, she said something that they're thinking about doing a non-politics August for, the editorials. So there's opportunity to do
Soon.
some, a Valley Voice or something like that.
Any voices from prospective politicians who are running in the city council about the
Well,
library?
I've been to a lot of those. I'm sure you have too.
Have they been mentioning the
I've
library
asked
any of this?
everyone, I've said everyone, they know who I am. I've said, when would you like to hear more about the library? I've had some of them kind of take me up on the spot and see what was going on, but the interesting thing about that is I had a conversation with Jeff, as a matter of fact, and he said, well, I'm not on that subcommittee. I said, but with the change, you're going to be representing people who want to know about the library. So it's not going to be, are you on that committee? You're going to want to know. And I said, and the trustees would love to tell you and what you need to know, and we need your support. And he said, I hadn't thought about that. So I think he knows enough of us that I'm going to one of his forums for the business community. But I've reached out to and spoken with Carl. I've spoken to Peter. I've spoken to, let me see who else.
I just find it interesting if it's in fact like the number 3 priority in the city that more prospective politicians aren't putting it on their agenda.
Every time I have a chance, I'll make the know. So I assume you guys are too.
Grace's on Grace's. You've
Yeah,
talked to
I've talked to Grace.
Now, Harry, were you the only one here when we had an election before and the trustees brought people in on tour, or were you here too?
I was here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
No, that was a good thing.
That's
Doing one of
A number of
the,
the candidates came.
Yeah, I think we need to do it
the
again.
trustees took the prospective candidates on a tour of the library, and
Individually, not
yeah.
What's
That would
interesting
be kind of
is,
odd to have all the competitors
Yeah.
I don't know.
right in the same room.
they actually have met. Somebody had an event for them where all of them sat and talked. So you actually want them to meet sometimes together because they're more close.
Yeah.
It creates some collegiality. It's not, you don't want it vicious.
No. I just hope one of them takes up the library as their personal agenda.
Yeah, well, I'm in District 1.
I'm
That's
in
my
District
neighbor.
1,
I think you're in District 1.
Oh.
and I know that
I'm
one.
in Christie's district.
So she's not up. But I mean, what's interesting is I'm getting
But Christie's
invitations
up
to all of
next
them.
year.
Oh, yeah.
Christie,
I'm
Christie and
getting
Lisa.
invitations to all the other districts, and I don't go to them because
Well, I'm in Rotary and I'm also in the DBA. So they're sending out invitations to a lot of lists clearly. And so I've been to some of them. I know you have, seen you there. I think if we just got to let people know, we want to talk to you about the library. There is interest. There is interest. Oh, and I can't remember the man who's running for District 2. I met him as well. It'll come to me.
Escobar.
Yes. Met
Escobar,
him at
yeah.
a DBA meeting or a Main Street Merchants meeting the other day, and I hit him up and said, you need to know about the library, so he
well,
said,
you
thank
could, you could send out a thing to all the candidates and suggest again that we'd be happy to meet with
Yeah.
you at a
Yeah.
time that works for you and take you on a tour of the library and talk about our plan for the future,
I think it's critical.
like we did last time. That'd be a great thing to do.
Yeah, because it's not going to be like in the
And
past
I'm
where
willing to
where
meet
someone
with
represents
someone.
all of us. It's going to be those
And when I've been
pockets.
listening to them at their meet and greets, they're not mentioning it
Yeah,
yet.
they might now that Measure
Yeah,
J
it's kind of
passed.
interesting. I mean, there was, I think when
I think so.
Kathy and I were actually being inducted into this board, it was the same meeting where they were actually showing this at City Council, this 90-second video of highlights of Palm Springs. And the library was not among the
Yeah.
pictures in there. The museum was, the art museum was, but not the library. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like,
Every chance I get, I bend someone's ear back.
mm.
Done?
Do you
You
have
okay?
trustee comments?
So I was
or
just going to
anything?
share with, I was the only representative that went to Serving with a Purpose.
Thank you.
And it was pointed out, called from the stage, only one person from Palm Springs was there.
We have
But
had some big, strong
They missed us.
representation there,
Um,
but we just couldn't do it this year, I guess.
it was for those of you who may know, but it's an annual library supporting group that comes from all over, actually the state. The state librarian was one of the keynotes, for example. The program that I got the most out of was talking about how to identify the library services that we don't know yet. And a lot of time talking about those things that are in our future or are out there, but not quite coming into view for libraries, which I thought was a really great discussion. And so we spent some time talking about that. And then we had a great author, which they always have an author there, but there was a really good author. Then I had to slip out for the rest. But there was, I would say, probably close to 200 people from around the state that were
They
there.
said it was a sellout.
And I don't know how I managed, but I was at the table with Desert Hot Springs, Palm Desert, and Riverside County
Great.
Library. So we all started, where are you from? And we started raising our hands, and before you know it, we're like, oh, well, we're next to each other. So that was kind of nice
That's
to get
great.
that.
We're all friends.
Yeah, it was kind of something. So anyway, that
Yeah,
was,
did you hear Desert Hot Springs is getting a new library?
everybody
Yes,
is.
everybody
It's
is.
about time for us too, so,
It's
yeah.
gonna be beautiful. Lisa used to be their manager at Desert Hot Springs.
Yeah.
Yes, they do need it.
So that's all I had.
Yes.
Does anybody else have anything? They wanna- Okay, good meeting. Anything else, staff? All right, so let's call this meeting to adjourn at 4:29.
Our
I
next
have a-
meeting will be
Oh, yeah, let's discuss that.
June 27th.
That's the week before the 4th of July. Does that still work for everybody? The 27th?
Yep.
I may not be here.
I'd love it if we could get another member, another trustee
Have you
assigned.
heard anything?
No, have you interviewed?
I talked to somebody who had, you were his boss, I believe, at one point in time. He worked with you.
Oh, Michael Hudson?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's interested.
Do you want to adjourn, just to get off the air?
We're still on the air.
Yeah?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned.